How they grew. Jeff. What is Jeff's character arc during the 6 seasons of Community? Well, it is all about nihilism. Nihilism is a main philosophical current of our times, and a surprising number of recent TV shows address it, like BoJack Horseman, The Good Place, or Rick and Morty. But Community started airing in 2009, so you could say that it was streets ahead. In the words of Chidi Anagonye, nihilism is the realization that the world is empty. There is no point to anything and you're just gonna die. So just do whatever. Jeff expresses the origin of his nihilistic point of view in the first episode when he says, I learned at a very young age that I could make anything true if I spoke long enough, so either I'm God or truth is relative. Thinking like this made Jeff conclude that if nothing matters, then emotions must be a weakness, because they make us care about things that don't really matter, and that make us suffer. We suffer if our friends are sad, if we cannot help them, if something bad happens to them. This is why Jeff was proud of how detached he was from everything. Since he didn't care about anyone, nothing could make him suffer, and he felt strong. He was also proud of being a lying and manipulative lawyer who released criminals. Because not having emotions and manipulating the emotions of others and manipulating the truth itself is the only way to be strong in a random and uncaring universe. For all these reasons, it's not surprising that he was practicing law without a real degree. If nothing matters, why work hard for anything when you can cheat and get it anyway, right? But of course, he gets busted, and he has to earn a real degree to regain his lawyer license. He could have gone to a good university. He could have gotten a scholarship. I mean, he was very smart, he was already working as a lawyer, and he was very good at it. But he just couldn't do it. He couldn't put more than the minimum amount of effort, because then he would have to admit that he cared. So he goes to Greendale, a university whose motto is, you are already accepted, and who once gave a degree to a dog. At Greendale, he meets Abed, and in their very first conversation, he says to him, I see your value now. Jeff was talking about the value of Abed toward his own selfish goal of having sex with Rita, but during the course of the show, he comes to see the value in people just because they exist. Maybe at first he tells himself that he's doing it ironically or just for fun, like when he helps Pierce with Spanish homework and it gets out of control. But soon enough, you can see him honestly caring. In the third episode, he makes fun of Brita for helping Abed take a film class his dad doesn't want him to take. But then, when Abed's dad screams at him for taking that class, Jeff is quick to point out that Abed is an adult and he can do whatever he wants. As the series goes on, Jeff sees the value first in Abed, but then in Brita, in Shirley, in Troy, in Pierce, and of course, in Annie. He tries to tell himself over and over that he does it for some selfish reason, but you can see his armor beginning to crack. When they are done with Spanish classes and Annie wants all of them to take a class together next semester, she proposes anthropology, and Jeff refuses. He tries to explain that it doesn't matter if they take classes together or not. But by the end of the episode, he admits to Annie that he thought that caring about people was childish because he stopped caring when he was a kid. But now he can see that you don't have to be a kid to admit that you like people, and that he doesn't want Annie to become like him. And soon enough, he's inviting everyone to take anthropology together next semester, and in doing so, admitting that he cares about these people now. Jeff learns that life might not have meaning, but that we make our own meaning. The meaning we choose. A great moment when he learns this is in the episode Accounting for Lawyers, where Jeff straight up tells his friends that caring is a disease, and to please do not infect him with it. But then he compares the meaning he made in his old life and the meaning he made at Greendale. And he realizes that he prefers the meaning he made at Greendale. So he goes back to his friends and thanks them for caring about him. Another moment that reflects this change is at the ending of Remedial Chaos Theory, when Jeff comes back with the pizzas and he sees all his friends dancing and singing and having a good time, and he can't help but smile and be happy. To recap, what Jeff has learned up to this point is that life has no inherent meaning, but that he can give his life whatever meaning he wants. And because he can choose to see the value in other people, the emotions he feels for them are not weaknesses, but rather that's what makes him happy. That's what makes his life better than it was before. This is his arc up to season 4, but then season 5 begins. Jeff tried to be a lawyer for good people in trouble, but he failed. He goes back to Greendale and he finds all his friends sad and defeated because what they learned at Greendale wasn't useful for the lives they wanted to have. This episode is amazing because we see that Jeff is angry. He's outraged. He cares for his friends. They have been wronged and he cannot accept it. The universe might be cold and uncaring, but that's exactly why he must not be that. That's why he must protect the people he cares about. Anyway, so at first, Jeff decides to sue Greendale for being such a crappy school. But then he sees Pierce's hologram saying, "This is a crappy place, but only because it gives crappy people a chance." In this context, Greendale's motto, "You are already accepted," sounds a lot wiser, don't you think? And so, Jeff and his friends decide to care about Greendale and turn it into a better university. Jeff becomes a teacher at Greendale, and he discovers that he likes it. Previously, he didn't shut up about how he was a lawyer and he was only at Greendale to go back to his old life. But now, he has to learn to accept himself, just like Greendale accepted him. And he does. Just look how quickly he's on board with Abed's game of The Floor is Lava. He looks so happy. Maybe I'm reading too much into a very small detail, but this seems to me like Jeff is embracing the good things of his life, and he never says he wants to be a lawyer again. This culminates in G.I. Jeff. It is Jeff's 40th birthday, and to feel young, he takes some weird drugs and he ends up at the hospital hallucinating a bunch of stuff, which is basically like a conversation with his own subconscious. And in this conversation, he learns to accept the age he has and who he has become. That's his arc up to season 5. Jeff has learned to find value in other people, to accept himself. He has lost his fear of emotions and being weak. He has learned to be happy with the meaning he has given to his life, which is why season 6 and the final episode are so sad. By this point, the show, and by extension Jeff, have lost Troy, Pierce, Shirley, and now he's going to lose Annie and Abed too. This is the man who couldn't shut up about how he was gonna leave Greendale, but then he found so many reasons to stay, and now, one by one, they all just fade away. And so, we get to the final scene at the library, and Jeff learns one last important lesson. He found meaning for his life. He found meaning in the people he cared about. And as those people live his life, he is sad. But he realizes that he can do it again. Now that he's not afraid of emotions and he accepts himself, he can find new meaning for his life. Perhaps in the form of 6 hot redheads, who's to say? So now that he's not afraid anymore, he can let people go, be happy for them, and be happy for himself. And that's what Jeffrey Winger learned at Greendale.